What we got here? We got Robby Edge and Sean Sullivan with EMPWR Solar. They're about to drop some nuggets. Do not want to miss it. See you in 30 seconds. Let's go. You guys ready for this?
Yep.
We are live. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Meet My Guest. I'm Joe Moose, and we are here with the solar community, and we got an amazing guest today, guys. If you guys don't know EMPWR Solar, you're about to know. These guys is Robby Edge and Sean Sullivan, managing partners at EMPWR Solar. We are going to have some fun. We're going to have a conversation. We're going to get drop some nuggets. We're going to pick their minds. We're going to talk a lot about sales ethics and how to bring on the right sales partners. But before we get started, everybody who's watching right now, go in the comment section, say what's up, where you're watching from. And we want this to be engaging. So you guys have questions, you want to jump in, put your input in there, let us know. So you guys should be watching from all over the place, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. So if you are, say what's up. But before that, let's say what's up to these guys, Robby Edge and Sean Sullivan. Hey, Robby, man, I know we talked a little bit, trying to get to know you and get sure we get the right value for the audience. And what you were saying when we talked, it was awesome. So I really want to get that value out there. But I don't know if everybody knows who you are yet, so there's maybe some people still getting to know who you are. So let us know, man. How did you even get into solar, and how did you get to where you are today, man?
Well, Joe, first thing, man, we're pumped to be here. Really appreciate you having us on. And I'm going to hire you, man, as my personal pump guy. Like every time the video was intense. I love it. But no, man, I really appreciate it. Just, really simply, before I got into solar, I was actually a tennis pro for about 25 years. Did that for a long time. Not the kind of tennis pro you see on television, but, more of a coaching pro. I did get to coach at a pretty high level, working with a lot of college athletes and kids that were going pro, things like that. So it was awesome. I loved every minute of it. But in reality, it doesn't pay very well. And when I met the girl that I am now married to, it's kind of funny. It was about a year into us dating, and I remember we were out at dinner one night, and she was kind of looking at me funny, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, man, this girl actually likes me," I can tell. And
sparkle in the eyes.
Yeah, it was like we're dating for a year, and the whole time, like, okay, this is going to end at some point, right? Because she's way out of my league, And this one day, it just happened. I was looking at her, I realized that she was pretty serious, and I thought to myself, all right, I got to get a big boy job. I got to go make some real money. And we did some different things, and then really just kind of happened to fall into the solar industry out of sheer luck at a time when I really needed it, because some other things that I was doing at that time after I left tennis wasn't panning out, and really just needed a good opportunity. And just right time, right place, man. I got introduced to the right person, and paid off huge. Made a lot of that opportunity. I had a really successful career in sales for solar for about 3 or 4 years. Led some teams, did some great recruiting, built, and then really, I kind of really ended up happening is with the company I was with at the time. They pulled back from the area I was in, and it gave me some opportunities to explore other companies, other opportunities in solar. And really, man, once I started learning about solar and not necessarily drinking the Kool-Aid of where I was at only, and started educating myself, it really opened my eyes to what we really wanted to build. And a few years later, met Sean, and that's kind of where EMPWR was born, man. We really wanted to build something pretty special, not only for our consumers, but for our salespeople that we'd recruited all those years. And it's worked out wonderfully for sure.
I love that.
Sean's got kind of a little bit of a different background, but been in sales even longer than I have, actually.
Yeah, Joe, I just have to say, man, thank you for that intro. I feel like a special guest. I mean, my goodness, that was awesome. I got into solar, by chance myself. I came in with the experience of a lot of the salespeople that are currently in solar. I was in the alarm industry, and ran a very successful ADT alarm franchise for a little over 20 years in multiple states. And a colleague of mine that I'd known from the alarm industry had moved into solar in California, and they were going to be opening up in South Carolina when the market opened up with net metering in 2015. And he said, "Hey, man, know what you did in security. Love to have you as our first dealer." We sat down for lunch, and he gave me the spiel, and man, I just thought it was the most amazing value proposition, selling proposition I've ever heard in my entire life.
I agree.
I was like so busy, I didn't have the time to do it, but I had to dip my toe in the water and get involved, man. And lo and behold, 6 months later, I'm selling that 20-year-old business and jumping full force into solar.
Oh, I love that. And we're excited to take you guys' mind. And we have a bunch of questions I want to ask. And I want the audience to jump in. You guys just joining us right now. We got Robby Edge and Sean Sullivan with EMPWR Solar. Say what's up in the comments. Let us know where you're watching from, and engage. Let us know how you're liking the questions, the advice. And if you have any questions you want to ask, jump in there too. How about we just get right into it? You guys ready just to jump into these questions?
Let's do it.
All right. So I know you guys were just telling me a little bit about your story. I didn't hear the years exactly. How long have you guys been in the solar industry in total?
I've been in for about 8.5 years, maybe close to 9 at this point.
All right. We're the same.
I got into it in 2015, so right at close to 10 years. God, it's hard to believe that much time's passed by.
That's dog years in solar, right, Joe?
Yeah.
I mean, what was that?
Yeah, man, you're a veteran, man, for sure. And before we get started, I heard you talk about ADT Solar.
ADT Security.
ADT Security, I'm sorry. And ADT bought a solar company and then kind of got out of it. Do you have any kind of perspective on what happened there? Just this is out of the blue, so if you don't know about it.
Yes. Well, first off, I think that, at the time of that sale, I think that SunPro had positioned themselves in a way to make it as attractive as possible with, getting jobs to the roof. We've actually worked with and have some people that worked with that organization as part of our operations staff. So really kind of understand what was happening in the final days prior to that purchase. But I think, one of the biggest issues that I knew was going to happen as it related to ADT moving in the solar space, the two businesses, the only thing that is similar is it's in-home sales. Other than that, there's nothing
different.
Nothing. I mean, with security, it's rinse and repeat. It's the same security system. It's a 2-hour install. Solar, I thought it was the most insane thing I ever heard when I first got into solar, when the guy that was recruiting me told me that the install team was made up of roofers and electricians. And I was like, it was like blowing my mind. Oh my God, man, these guys are out there, installing solar. So, I think that a lot of the higher ups at ADT that were from the security side thought they could come in and, direct the ship on the solar side, and really just did not have a full understanding of the complexity of this as it relates to the construction side. It's a tough business for sure.
Yeah, sorry to drop the bomb of a question on you, but it's just like such an intriguing question, and you had some experience, so I really appreciate you letting us know about that. I know you guys gave us a background of, you guys have been in the solar industry, until now, but we know everything that's going on in the solar industry, and a lot of people dropped out, and they're changing industries or they're figuring out what they're trying to do. But the other half are doing really well, and they're still killing it. What's kept you guys from, staying in the industry? What's kept you guys here?
I mean, to be honest, I think it's an industry of opportunity for sure, right? And to be honest, I think our roles have changed a lot over the last few years. Obviously, when I first got into the industry, it was all about sales, right? I was a salesperson to start off with, door knocker, from day one, team leader, that type of stuff, and that was awesome. That was a great journey. I think once we kind of got beyond the sales side, though, we started trying to build something that other salespeople could participate in and have the same experience that we had wanted and desired. I think that kind of led to a new desire to be in the industry for a different reason, right? And we think we've grown that. Our operational abilities have grown and continue to grow, and it is pretty fulfilling, to be honest. The industry's awesome. I think the opportunity is there. I think a lot of people are just looking for the right place to have an opportunity. And, to be honest, there's a lot of places that advertise opportunity, but maybe can't help execute. And I think that's something that we've really excelled in the last few years. And it's pretty rewarding, to be honest.
Yeah,
Definitely have some learning scars you might see on my forehead right
Is that what they're called?
They don't call it the solar coaster, for not that being a very definite reason. No, Robby and I met in 2000, and Robby had been running a sales org, and I was vertically integrated in one state and pretty small, just a couple crews. And when we met, we just felt like together we'd be able to really do something special. We aligned in a lot of ways. We're all about customer experience. We're all about doing it the right way. And, you don't have to do it the wrong way to be successful in solar. And, we just hit the ground running 4 months before COVID hit, and had to transition to selling over the internet like everybody else did. And, we just kept fighting, man. It's not, it's never been easy. And the one thing I'll say about being in this industry is you have to be prepared for what you can't prepare for. You have to always have your head on a swivel. You have to be agile. You have to be able to pivot and, make moves based on market conditions.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it sounds like you guys have experience with operations and systems and getting that down and, making sure you guys are doing it the right way. But before they're doing that, you have to make sure these guys are have their sales skills up and they know what they're saying, know what they're doing. But you guys are top sales performers. You've done there, been there, done that. Like, what separates the, let's say average sales guy who's like goes in and tries to do a job, and to the guys who are just like the top 5% crush it? What would you say what separates them?
It's kind of, I think you'll get a lot of answers when you ask that question. I remember when I was selling and, I was one of the top salespeople in the country for the company I was with. And it was weird. I'd go into our office meetings sometimes, and like people would just gather around and they'd be asking all kinds of questions. What's the secret? What are you saying? What are you doing? And they kind of look at you like you just discovered fire for the first time, And to be honest, the reality was at that time, it wasn't anything I was saying or doing. It was really just my mentality, how I approached, what I was doing. And, I always talk to people about this. I came out of a sports background, coming from the tennis side. And you'd always talk about kind of the Mamba mentality. You used to hear about Kobe Bryant talk about that a lot, You're
a tennis player. Okay.
Yeah. So
in good shape then, I know it's a
back in the day, you can see the lower half now. But, but it was the mentality, a lot of guys, to be great at that top 5% in anything you do, right? Much less sales. It's a lifestyle, right? You can't act like it's a job. It's a lifestyle. You have to eat, sleep, breathe it every day. If you're not willing to put in, 8 to 10 hours a day, at least, you're not going to be in that top 5%, right? If you're not perfecting your craft every day, you're not going to be in that top 5%, And it's really just about the mentality that, a lot of those people approach, their daily routines with. And I know that's cliche. You hear it all the time. But the reality is, if you don't have that lifestyle and you're not continuing to push to improve every day at every facet, becoming more professional at this industry, you just can't stay performing at that level. And you can take shortcuts. You can have a high performing month by taking some shortcuts, right? You can do some different things. But if you don't live it, if it's not your lifestyle, you're just not going to have a hard time maintaining that,
I think, very much I agree with what Robby's saying. I think just a couple of other points that I'd like to make. I've knocked doors pretty much my entire life. And, one of the things that I always said, set me apart is no one's going to outwork me. I'm determined. I've got a goal. I'm going to charge that goal down. It might not be easy, but if I keep pushing and chopping the tree, I know it's going to fall. For a little bit higher level, though, I think that, becoming a student of the industry and expanding your knowledge base, if you really understand what it is that you're selling in a more technical manner, it's going to really give you a leg up against competitors that, that might be blowing smoke up at customers, butt to try to get them to buy. But if you really know what you're talking about, it's going to be obvious. Customers can be able to see that for sure.
I 100% agree.
Yeah, I would piggyback one more thing, Joe. I think and it kind of goes with that. I think to remain near the top of your game, I think you have to have a genuine ability to care about like your customers' needs, right? You have to genuinely care about what's going on. And if you don't, man, if you're trying to take those shortcuts to kind of get that sale, eventually it's going to catch up with you, man. You either get a bad reputation with your customer base or the company you're with or whatever. And it's just tough, man, to maintain that. So, I think if you genuinely care and you want to keep improving and you put in that time and effort, I think that's where it's really going to pay off.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, I think like what you're pretty much saying, Robby, in the beginning was you have to be obsessed. You have to really be like, this is what my life is. This is what I want to do. This is what I care about. This is what I think about. But I love that you're saying that, it's about caring also, because it's easy to sell and make a lot of money if you don't care and you're just ripping people off and you're doing things unethically, and I know what you're talking about. Sometimes it's hard to compete against, competitors who are doing things unethical. That makes you like, if they're doing it, then I should do it too. And, then it becomes that rabbit hole of where you don't want to be. And where our industry, I think, is a big problem we're having is because of the unethical reps and maybe even companies out there that are just kind of looking the other direction and saying, oh yeah, these are good installs. Yeah, there's no issues here. What are you guys doing? Let me just ask the question where it says, what do you mean by that? And what do you think many reps struggle with it? What's the issue? Is it just because they're just trying to make as much money and not thinking about the long term or their reputation? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the first problem in our industry, right, is, anytime you have an industry that has huge opportunity, there's going to be some huge temptation to maybe abuse that. Right. And I think that's one of the first big problems of our industry. And when you look at it, I think there's been a lack of professional development in our industry and a lack of guardrails that have hurt the industry a lot. Right. And that's starting to come back around now. Right. I mean, you're starting to see the lenders crack down on all kinds of ways in compliance and stuff. You're seeing lawsuits out there. You're seeing companies close because of that. You see all these things that have happened because of the lack of guardrails and professional development in the industry. But again, I think it's just a huge opportunity that brings that huge temptation. But I don't know if ethically might even be the right word to describe what we're talking about. It might even just be might be some irresponsibility, right? And what I mean by that is a lot of guys who may be in home selling, a lot of times they may have learned poor habits from somebody who learned poor habits from someone else. Maybe they didn't understand how to really dive deep into what a utility rate or utility rate schedule might do to a consumer once they go solar. Maybe they just don't understand how to explain, what a battery can do for a customer, right? Or maybe they don't understand how to look into a EPC and see what's my customer experience going to be like. I understand the red line. I understand how to ask for a really good red line and negotiate a red line. But do I really understand how to dive deep into what the EPC's abilities are, right? And can they provide my customers a good experience? And, I think there's just maybe a irresponsible nature in the industry to some degree that has, kind of led to a lot of that, right? And it might not all, it's something, there are some ethics problems too. There are some of that as well. But I think it's compounded by just some of the lack of professional development in our industry for sure.
Yeah, I agree and disagree a little bit, and I'll just throw it back, maybe a devil's advocate, because from what I'm seeing is that the homeowners who are the most able to be tricked are being duped over and over again. And I'm talking about the people that we should be protecting the most, our seniors, they're on Social Security, disability, like our grandparents. Like, right, these people are getting hurt the most because they trust and they're like, oh, okay, this helps, this is going to save me. But what's going on? Why is it that they're getting lawsuits? Is because they're just trying to make money off these companies, or is because they really destroyed these people, right? They're putting them in situations where they're getting double bills. They're paying double electricity for a solar system. Who's doing that? Promising they're getting tax credits that they're never going to get because they're on Social Security, giving them 50% offset systems when they are thinking they're 100% going to cover the electricity. How can ethical sales reps compete against that? And how can we last as an industry if we don't fight against these corrupt, reps and companies going after those, homeowners who are just, helpless, in my opinion. It's a hard question. I'm not trying to, but I think I'm, super passionate about protecting, our homeowner because they're our life and blood of our business.
Absolutely.
It's tough. I mean, I remember first getting in the business in 2015, again, with the thought in my mind that this is the most amazing product / service I've ever heard of in my life. Put a system in, replace a bill that you're already paying, pay an equity payment towards something you're going to own, control it. I just thought it was amazing. And that first year I was in solar in sales, I probably walked away from as many people that I sold just because I knew that they couldn't do it. It wasn't going to work. They couldn't get the tax credits, and for people that are, maybe not the most highly affluent as it relates to, earnings, and, you put them in a position where now they can't get the tax credits, and now they're paying, $100 extra a month. I mean, that can be a make or break, for some of these folks that are getting solar installed. So it gives the industry overall, a black eye. And I'm just really excited. I'm embracing some of the compliance efforts that are going out, as it relates to the lenders. And, I just hope for a day in the future that, we can be very proud of the industry as a whole, of what we're doing and how we're, interacting with customers, representing it the proper way.
Oh, I love that. And Robby, like exactly what you were saying before, we have to take a responsibility to make sure these homeowners are taken care of. So that means checks and balances, right? Many companies focus on getting deals closed, but I know you guys are completely different there, where you guys focus on making sure you have strict underwriting, quality control, processes, protection, checks and balances. Can you please explain to the industry how that works and how we can make sure we protect these homeowners and reps too?
Yeah, I think
it's a hell of a lot of work.
It has to be, but it's so worth it. It must be so worth it.
It is. I think, the industry has gotten kind of wonky the last couple of years. You've got, where sales our EPCs have really been super hungry to generate revenue. They're willing to take all kinds of deals, all kinds of sales groups. Right? They'll do anything to generate revenue. And luckily, we've never really been in that position. I think we've managed the company very responsibly, and we're in a good financial position where we don't just have to take deals just to generate revenue and to say that we're trying to grow for the sake of growth. So I think that's been a positive for us. But like from our side, we are, again, you have to keep in mind how we started our company, which we didn't really get into this a little bit at the beginning, but we started as a vertically integrated company, right? So we weren't just strictly an EPC. We weren't kind of behind the scenes working the project where a customer didn't really talk to us. We were vertically integrated. So we had our own sales teams for years, right? We had our own sales teams, and then we also did the project management installation. But the reason that I bring that up is because when you're doing it as a vertically integrated company, it's the reputation that you're trying to build, right? That takes a huge hit if sales practices aren't in line, right? And there's all kinds of, we don't do our own direct sales anymore. We're strictly an EPC now. But so much of the stuff that we do as an EPC now is rooted in what we were trying to accomplish as a vertically integrated company, including our reputation and our product offerings and all the stuff that we do to facilitate sales for reps and things. So, but going back to the part of underwriting, we do it the same way. We want to make sure we still try to protect the customer the exact same way we did when we were vertically integrated, right? And we look at all kinds of things. We have what we call deal review complete. So when a project is submitted, it goes into a deal review bucket. But we even have a pre-deal review bucket that actually lands first. And in that pre-deal review, they're looking at, they're validating shading, make sure that the software is calculated that correctly. We're doing things like looking at their age. So if there's certain ages, right, we're going to either have to have them sign off on certain waivers or things like that. We just want to make sure, we give the customer opportunity to ask questions to make sure they understood what they were getting into. We conduct welcome calls a day or two after the project has been turned in. So we're trying to do things to make sure, not to stand in the way of the sale, but to just try to make sure that the consumer is protected as we want them to be as well, right? And I think any partner that wants to work with us has a lot of alignment there, right? And we have a lot of great sales partners, a lot of big and small, and they all have that same mindset, and they're okay with those checks and balances.
Yeah, and I know we were talking, Robby, you're very selective who you take on as sales partners. It's not like you're saying anybody come on, like you're like making sure you're picking the right sales partners. So what are some of those things you look for? Is there like red flags or things you're like, wait a second here, I don't think you're going to be a good partner? Or like, what are those things you kind of see in here? You're like, whoa, I don't know about this.
We might should get some of our business development staff on here. I'm sure they got some great things to talk about.
Yeah,
but
sure.
no, man. Not to be on a moral high ground or anything, but the reality is there's a lot of things you can pick up in normal conversations. I think I think when we're conversing, when we do initial conversations, are very similar to this, right? They're very kind of down to earth conversations, trying to understand what their experiences have been like in the industry so far, trying to understand where their pain points have been, trying to make sure there's some alignment that we can address those pain points. Again, we're not just trying to grow for the sake of growth and just say, come over here. We'll promise you we'll take care of you. We really want to try to make sure that we're providing a real solution for what's been ailing them for a long time. So if we can't provide that, right, we want to let them know very upfront. But beyond that too, there's things, that you'll kind of notice, right? When they talk about, some of the things that they've experienced with the finance, why they might not be getting paid on projects, there's kind of the solar bro thing, that we all
closed 200 deals, but I closed 200 deals, but only 20 are installed.
Yeah, like when you start kind of going to that, or we do a little diligence on the backside too. So when we start dealing with someone new, we're typically kind of asking some questions in the industry of people we know. Hey, what do you know about these people? And again, man, like I think one of the reasons we've been able to navigate, some of the hardships in the industry and maybe some others haven't is because of that diligence, right? We're not having all these lawsuits out there everywhere, and we're making sure that we're trying to keep our reputation as high as we can keep it. And I think it's gone a long ways, and having partners know that up front, what we're after, and having them understand the type of customer experience that we want for our homeowners, but also them as a customer, the sales partner as a customer. I think being very upfront about that has helped us bring in the right partners.
For sure. I think, the communication aspect, we try to run our company as transparent as possible, provide information to everybody that's a stakeholder. I think that communication, both with our sales partner and with our customer, I think that is probably one of the most important things, that an APC can master. Because, these customers, they're on an island, and, you want a higher pull-through rate. It's all about how, when a job is turned in, how that EPC handles that project from first day all the way through the process, and we're firm believers in over communicating and, keeping the customer fully informed. So, we just feel like that makes it a much stickier deal.
So you're saying that you don't surprise reps with a $3,000 extra adder that they weren't part of and takes out of the commission? He has no choice. That's not something you do?
Let's do that. Joe, if you give me like 30 minutes, I'll do a whole sales pitch on here when we talk about sales partners. We've got a lot of great things, man, and we've tried to think of it from their perspective. We keep saying this over and over, but we have two customers, right? We have the homeowner and we have our sales partner, and we have to communicate with them both at a super high level and try to make sure everyone's happy, right? And that's not always easy, right? But I think we've balanced that really well.
Well, speaking of the sales partners, I know we were talking earlier where you guys, try to provide tools and apps and, the right products. Obviously it's part of it's the bottom line. A lot of companies just worry about just getting things as cheap as possible so you can get a better margin with the red lines. And it's just, it's a fight to the bottom. Why is it important to make sure your reps have the tools and the homeowner? I know you have an homeowner app. Talk about that and making sure you have premium products.
Yeah, so a couple of things. I think obviously because of what we've been doing for as long as we've been doing it, we have been able to be hyper competitive in the red line, realm. So I think that's been very helpful for bringing on partners. Obviously, we can compete with just about anybody from that realm. But I think it's beyond what we do, with like products and services and offerings that also combines that with an incredible red line to makes partners excited. And again, going back to us being vertically integrated, everything that our mindset in this whole EPC world, right, has been very similar to what we were trying to accomplish as a vertically integrated company. And we were, from very early on, we were a small company back then when we first started, right? And it was about how can we differentiate, right? How can we be different? How can we be special, And we did it in all kinds of ways. Like, some of you guys may have heard like Pearl certification. Like every home that we install solar on gets Pearl certified, right? Like products, right? Like a lot of EPCs, they pick products based on, how they can get the best deals at the moment. we're kind of creatures of habit. We're going to stay with, a high level panel like a Q cell, 415, 425. We're using Enphase on every product. Iron Ridge with halo racking. We just want to make sure that type of stuff is like a incredible product offering for you as a rep in the home, right? That's the only way that we knew how to do that. Trying to cut corners about using cheaper things, it just wasn't in our nature to do that. And then, there's other things that we have. We have like partner ambassadors and customer ambassadors. Like Sean mentioned, our communication to the homeowners is second to none, really. We try to touch base with the customer every 7 to 10 days, no matter what. We have automations that go out from our CRM. We have our own customer facing app, the EMPWR app, that they can track their journey in. They all are assigned customer ambassadors that are actually reaching out through text and phone call through the journey. Our sales partners have a very similar experience. We have partner ambassadors. We have live sales support. We just have all these things. And we're just trying to bring, obviously red lines are a huge part of the industry, right? And like I said, we're hyper competitive in that. But we're trying to make sure that the experience for both the customer that they sold and the sales partner themselves is second to none, right? And not surprising people with those types of things you're talking about, making sure if there is any type of change or any type of thing that's going to be needed, that we're communicating that way early in the process, and that they're not going to get dinged later on, those types of things. But I think we've really been able to balance that because of our background coming from the sales side. We're not just a lot of times you'll find an organization that really came in from heavy on the operation side, and that's how they built the company, from operational mindset. Or maybe they were only sales and they kind of started to try to build into operations.
Or more maybe only install.
There's different ways that EPCs come out of the ground, right? But I think not only have we been able to master both sides of that, for a few years now, but we've proven success and scalability at both of those. So when we're talking about like sales partners, I think our background coming from the sales side is really what makes EMPWR so special.
And that drives a lot of how we train our operational staff, from a sales minded perspective. In sales, you want to build a relationship. And, one of the things that really helps us, getting jobs to the roof is that customer ambassador role. That this customer ambassador, we teach them, from the get to build a sincere relationship with the customer, because at the end of the day, we can push the jobs quickly to the roof. But once you get to that aspect of the project progression, the install, that's when things can go a little haywire, because it is a construction project. And if you've built a solid relationship with that consumer, and you've kept in communication with that consumer, made a friend, it'll help you weather any type of storm that might crop up, during that installation phase.
No, it sounds like you guys have the operations and systems down to scale. But even then, when you guys are scaling, you guys are in 15 states now and still expanding more. That's serious for a solar EPC for sure. But when you're scaling, there's going to be things that fall through the cracks. And might be repetitive, so forgive me if I'm making you repeat yourself a little bit, but maybe it's worth it. But as you scale, you're going to sacrifice. Like, there's going to be a little bit. How do you stop it from being quality and ethics? Because I'm sure those two things are going to, fall the fastest when you scale fast. But how do you quality control, making sure that everything is still going to the way you planned it from the beginning? Is that a weird question?
Man, I think you gotta be a good planning company. You've got to be deliberate, and you have to be looking in the future. And when we open a new market, being an EPC, it's not easy. I'm probably not the first one that said that before. There's a lot of intricacy. There's a lot of moving pieces and a lot to manage. And, when you go into new markets, it's very difficult because, every state, every city, every municipality, they do things a little bit differently. There's different electrical codes, there's different utility policies. So we have a policy team, compliance. The first thing that we do when we start looking at a new market is we start to do some due diligence on that market. And, one of the things that I think makes us a little different than some in the market that do what we do is, because of our unique perspective being vertical, when we were vertical, we had a 5-state footprint, and, we had 15 install crews, and we're traveling them across state lines, and we learned some very valuable lessons, that we, when we changed and moved this EPC model, we're not doing those things. We were firm believers that the install of solar, that needs to be a local company in the local market. So, one of the things that we do as we move into a market is we develop very close relationships with build partners, install partners that are licensed and insured, that have knowledge of the market, have been operating in the market, and do a good job. And we lean on them. We lean on that knowledge, and we form true partnerships with them. So I think it really boils down to, being deliberate, having the knowledge, and having a plan and implementing that plan.
And Joe, I'll tell you this, man, like, how we got good at doing that? By making mistakes early on, right? So we did that early on, right? And so we really learned from those types of things, and I think, if you can learn, right, that's how you get better, right? I think there's a lot of times people keep making the same mistakes. We're not a company that makes a lot of the same mistakes twice, right? Mm-hmm. So, and again, I mean, it's a tough business, as Sean has mentioned, but it's something we're very good at.
All right, ready? Pop quiz. This is a question for your own company. You have to know this. Name the 15 states you are currently an EPC in. Now, go.
Okay. So we got the Carolinas, right? North and South Carolina. We got Virginia, we got Georgia, we got Florida, we got Pennsylvania, we got Ohio, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Illinois, Arizona, Texas. I don't know where I'm at. Were you counting, Joe?
Nope, I wasn't, but you're close enough.
Kentucky, Missouri. Let's see more.
Kentucky, Missouri.
We've got a few others, I'm sure, but I
ran out of fingers. I ran out of fingers.
We got, let's see. Probably Michigan might be on the horizon.
We've got licensing in Indiana, Michigan, Vermont, Colorado, that we just haven't opened in those states yet, but we do have the licensing for those states. But we got to take some baby steps. Opening in Illinois, that was definitely a learning experience for sure.
All right, everybody, go ahead. You gonna say something, Robby?
No, you're good.
All right, everybody. We're actually with EMPWR Solar, Robby Edge, and Sean Sullivan. We're picking their minds, getting some advice here. I only have a couple more questions for you guys. I really appreciate your time. You guys watching, if you want to get a question, this is your last chance, because I have two more. If you want to get one in there, get it in there now, and make sure you put your name so we know where it's coming from. The next question is going to be advice, kind of for sales reps and the sales audience, kind of, looking at the future. But, just to, let's be transparent. There's a lot of sales reps struggling out there. It is what it is. Like they're struggling. They're trying to sell. They're trying to make money. They're not closing as much as before. We have unscrupulous reps out there selling deals that don't make sense for homeowners. What's kind of your advice for these reps that are struggling right now to keep closing deals, but keep closing it the right way?
Yeah, I mean, I think if I was giving any advice right now, man, is find a mentor, man. Find somebody that is doing that and learn from them, man. I mean, don't let pride get in the way, right? I mean, I think I've been known for doing that personally, before. So, the reality is find a mentor, find somebody, surround yourself with people that are having success, go learn, go be a part of that. It's pretty energizing too, to be in a group that is having success, right? Especially if you can find success the right way. If you can align yourself with a group like that, start learning with them, traveling with them, visiting them, I think that goes a long, long ways, man. But also just keep perfecting your craft, man. There's so many resources nowadays for, learning better sales tactics, learning how to align your lifestyle in a way that is going to lead to more success. I think there's just so many resources now to do that. But man, if you're doing those two things, find the right people to learn from, perfecting your craft, and you keep plugging away, man, and you set a goal and you know what it is, man. I mean, I think you're going to find success. I don't think there's any doubt.
I agree. I think open your mind, to new ideas, new techniques, and as hard as it is to change, don't be scared of change, and if it is market related, where the options for finance are not, are limited and the cost of power is low, maybe do some blitz, blitzes in areas where the cost of power is high and there's a net metering program in place.
I love that. Go to an area that can make sense to sell the way you're selling. Like then you're good, right?
Absolutely.
I love that. And we actually got a question from the audience. I think it's a good question. Would you guys want to see it and hear it?
Yeah.
All right. Here's from Carl Chapman. He says, are you guys using Solar Insure? If so, do you see most of your projects including that additional coverage? Great content today. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, so I think Solar Insure is a great product. So, right now, obviously, I think a lot of the industry is kind of dominated by TPO products, which we have, a few of. A lot of the TPO products have their own, warranties, obviously, and kind of coverages. But like on cash and finance products, we don't use Solar Insure. We're using Align for that. But I think Solar Insure, and Align are both very similar products, both fantastic products to give a customer peace of mind. And again, I think it's, obviously a lot of the product lineup we have all has 25-year or even 30-year, and a lot of our products now like manufacturer warranties, and our installation has our own warranties with it. But I think things like Solar Insure can do a really good job in the sales process. Again, it just gives that customer that extra peace of mind, and I think it's really important when you have a third-party warranty like that. I think a lot of companies now. It was so funny. I was just talking to someone about this a few days ago, where they're like, hey, well, if you don't offer a 30-year roof penetration warranty, we can't do business with you. And I'm like, man, how could we offer a 30-year roof penetration warranty? The racking manufacturer won't even offer more than 10, and like they don't even warranty their product that long. Why would we warranty that? So,
after 10 years, like there's a leak all of a sudden is going to happen after 10 years. Is that, I think 10 years is probably a good amount of time for you to know there's going to be no leaks from the solar system.
Yeah. I mean, like you typically know way before then. Right. But I think the reality though is that, a lot of companies are throwing around crazy things, right. And are trying to earn business through things that don't make sense. Right. And aren't sustainable. So I love the idea of like a Solar Insure or an Align, again, because, companies come and go, right? We've seen that a lot over the last few years. And I think that third party element can really add to the sales process and give your consumer a good peace of mind for sure.
Super big believers of third party insurance policy. I mean, it just makes sense. Yeah. Makes total sense.
That's a great question, Carl. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Carl Chapman. Appreciate you watching on LinkedIn. All right. Time for the last question. Are you guys psychic at all? Can you see the future at all? Because this next question might help. Obviously we can't see the future, but like you see, you guys have great experience. You see what's going on, and your guys are still highly successful. But how do you see this whole industry evolving, man? Like this is changing, it's evolving, like it's happening right in front of our eyes. And to say nothing is going to happen is just you're just turning a blind eye. But what's going to really separate the successful reps and companies from those that are not going to make it? What do you think?
Joe, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just got a ding on my watch. That was the 7th executive order that was signed today while we've been in this meeting. So yes, totally can relate to that. The thing about solar is, again, you have to expect the unexpected. I don't think anybody can tell the future. I think that, we continue to do things the right way, and we feel like if we do it the right way, we're going to see the success that we want long term.
Yeah, I think kind of circling back to like what we think might happen, Joe. Just to be honest, man, I think the industry's swinging back in a positive way a little bit. I think there's more compliance coming down the road, right? I think things like recheck are coming in. I think that's all.
Explain what recheck is real quick, because I know what it is, but I think a large majority of the audience still doesn't know what a recheck is. If you don't mind just giving them a little shout out.
Yeah, I mean, I think, recheck is basically kind of coming about because a lot of the lenders have had experience with sales reps that have done things that are not appropriate for lending, right? And for the industry. And because of that, now they're, a lot of the lenders, Mosaic just rolled this out, Goodleap has rolled it out, LightReach has rolled it out, several other lenders Dividend, yeah. Now, you're basically having to register in the industry, you're having to register who you are. And then what eventually is going to happen with that, I don't know the long-term plan for it altogether, but eventually what will happen there is, if you can kind of get on a blacklist, right? If you're doing practices that are not, in line with what good practices should be in this industry, I think eventually, you could be not allowed to sell on any financial platform. And I think that's a good thing. Again, I think there's some other compliance things. If you look at like Goodleap right now, using kind of their automated welcome calls, and Mosaic still has their welcome call, and I think a few others are starting to look at implementing some of those as well. I think it's kind of swinging back to when we first started in the industry, some of those things we felt like were a headache. But the reality is, because they took off some of those guardrails, the industry got a little out of whack, right? And I think some of these things that are coming back in compliance are going to make sure that homeowners are protected and that salespeople are doing the right things by the customer. And I think that's a positive thing. I think that's a hugely positive thing for our industry for sure.
Yeah, and I love that you brought up Recheck and Call Pilot. It sounds like you're talking about.
Oh, wow, yeah. Sorry, I can't think of the name.
SIA is doing a huge part of their part to kind of clean up the industry. And they're going to be at SolarCon, just like you guys. I'm really excited that you guys are going to make it. You guys have an awesome presence there. You guys are going to be on every lanyard. So if you guys see EMPWR you're going to see it every single around your neck. So you're around everybody's neck at SolarCon.
That's right. You guys got to come hang out with us.
Yeah,
hang out with them. They'll have their booth there. If everybody doesn't go to SolarCon, believe it or not, some people aren't going. If they don't get to go to Solar, how can they reach out to you guys? How can they work with you if they wanted to see if they can interview and get on your team? I know that you guys are EPC, but I'm sure you take sales partners, right? Like dealers and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. First off, if you're not going to SolarCon, you need to go and get signed up. I know they just made a massive announcement. Tony Robbins is going to be there. So, who doesn't?
Tony Robbins, let's go.
Yeah, who doesn't want to see
tickets?
That?
Free tickets to Tony Robbins. That right there is one reason to go alone.
Worth the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
So definitely do that. But I mean, Joe, if you don't mind, maybe if you could throw up our website, probably one of the easiest ways to get in contact with us. We have a join us section on the website there. You go in there. One of our team members will reach out to you if you put something in there. We'd love to chat with you guys, man. Obviously, we definitely want to grow, just like every other company does. We definitely want to grow with the right people. So if you've heard some of the things that you've heard today, we'd love to really sit down and explain everything that we do as a company. I think sets us apart. But definitely go on the website, drop us a line. We would love to meet with you guys.
Definitely.
Hell yeah. No, you guys are awesome. It's awesome getting to know you the last few weeks. Excited to meet you at SolarCon and get to pick your mind even more. If you guys don't know, make sure you go to SolarCon and say what's up to Robby and Sean. Appreciate you guys. Go to EMPWRSolar.com. Okay. I made the mistake of spelling Empower wrong. Okay. Make sure you spell it right. EMPWR Solar.com. Then there's a click on a join us button, and you guys start working with these guys. You guys are awesome. Really appreciate you guys being on. This has been awesome. I can't wait to see you guys at SolarCon. All right, guys.
Thanks a lot, Joe.
We are out. Let's go.
Peace. Thanks, everyone.